All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited that you are here. It is time. If you have been doing our free Cupid's Gone Rogue Subverting Tropes writing challenge, submissions for your stories are officially open today. So we cannot wait to read what you guys have submitted. The point of today's live is to walk you through step by step how to put your story into AutoCrit if you did not write it there, how to submit it for consideration by the judges, and ultimately just to cheer you on as we get ready to go over the final phase. So we're very, very excited for everybody. As a reminder for the timeline here, the challenge began on the 1st. We are now way past the writing phase. If you are joining us late and want a little thrill and think that you can get a story completely written and edited in a few days, run for it. You can still sign up. This is a free challenge. These submissions are now officially open. They opened at 11:59 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, and they will be open until 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on the 25th. So got right up to just before midnight. And we've said this before, please don't wait until the last minute in order to submit because we don't want any unforeseen circumstances, internet going out, or anything like that, keeping you guys from being able to submit to the challenge. You've worked hard on your stories. We want to read those stories. And that way, if you go ahead and start submitting early, you have time to ask for help if you realize that I'm missing this. I didn't fill out the beat sheet. What do I do here? Send in any questions, and I'll show you guys how you can send in questions as well today on this live. We will be announcing winners and finalists on March 4th. That live is already available here on YouTube, so you can go hit the little bell to be reminded when we go live. We'll be doing that at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, March 4th. So let's go over again what the content guidelines are, and then we will pull up AutoCrit and walk through how to submit. So as a reminder here, we are looking for contained stories, self-contained stories that are 2,500 words or less. And when we say self-contained stories, we are talking about stories that have a clear beginning, life before the romance, then middle, we're in the romance, and end, looking for ideally that happily ever after, happy for now ending, or if you are doing a subverted trope that is going to affect the ending, at least showing us that there is lasting impact on these people because of their love story that took place, right? This is a subverting tropes writing challenge again. So we are looking for romance stories. They need to be clearly romance. You need to make sure that you have the romance as the front and center focus of your plot. If you have some fantasy elements, some mystery elements, some horror elements, some thriller elements all thrown in, that's completely fine. Hooray! But the main purpose of the story should be the focus of the relationship. The subverting trope needs to be mentioned at the very top of your page in one sentence or 2 sentences max. And what we're going to ask you to do, and I'll show you this in a moment, is at the top of your file, write, the trope I'm subverting is, and then tell us what it is. And then in one sentence, tell us what you are trying to subvert it to, right? So if we are going to do the damsel in distress trope is one we talked about, I believe, last week, and you want to flip that around. Maybe you have a damsel who isn't in distress, or the rescuer is in distress, not the damsel that they were going to rescue, right? So we're looking for more than just a gender swap. We're looking for more than just norms. We're looking for the actual trope itself needs to be subverted. So if they had to be together, forced proximity, maybe they're forced apart. And that's your subverted trope, right? If it's enemies to lovers, maybe it's lovers to enemies. If it's my brother's best friend, maybe it's my brother's worst enemy or my enemy's brother instead of something like that. So we're going to shift the entire trope, and you can be as creative as you want with it. Just tell us at the top in 2 sentences what you are hoping to go for there. Don't forget to put that at the top. If we open the story and there isn't that at the top, your story may not get read because it didn't follow the guidelines. All right. Your story needs to be written in past tense. You can write in first person, you can write in third person, you can write in second person, but good luck. You can do whatever point of view you want, as long as there is a narrator. There does have to be a narrator on the page, and it has to be written in past tense. Your dialogue, as we said in the past tense live, you can go back and watch it if you're worried about what we're looking for with that. It's available to view here on YouTube. Your dialogue can be in present tense. It is typically present tense, but everything else needs to be in past tense. So again, you can write any POV you want, as long as the main narrative is past. You must also use an AutoCrit beat sheet in the story builder. We went over that in detail last week, so we're not going to take a whole lot of time walking you through that today. Go watch that replay if you need it. But we will be showing you where that is today, so that way you can find it and then go pull it up and have it alongside that replay as you're watching the step-by-steps if you need them. Okay, let's see here. We're going to go ahead and share the screen. That way you can see my AutoCrit account and see all of this live. Here we go. So this is AutoCrit. If you have signed up for this challenge officially, you received a challenge membership. That is very important because the challenge participants have free access to a couple pro member exclusive reports and the story builder that you do have to have. So everything that was required for the challenge was given to you for free, but only if you signed up. So if you have not signed up yet, you can still go to the sign up registration page and register in order to unlock your perks. So we are going to be here on the homepage when you first log in. This shows you our poll of the week, events that are going on, and things like that. But for the challenge's sake, you want to come over to the left-hand side where it says Writer's Desk, and you're going to click there. And let me make this screen bigger so everybody can see as we go through here. From here, if you have not written your story in AutoCrit, you have a couple choices. You can either upload your unformatted image-free story by clicking Upload File, which is going to open this little box where you can drag and drop your docx file, your .rtf file, or your .txt file into here. Or you can click Blank Document and copy and paste your story into the system this way. So whichever one you are more comfortable doing, we're going to go ahead and open a new file here. So here is my new file. Please do not put your name anywhere in the file. Remember, this is a blind judging, so your identifying information should not be here. When you submit your file, the system will assign it a random number. And once we have decided who the winners are going to be and the finalists are going to be, you will receive notice afterward, because those random numbers are tied back to your account. So we can tell the system to tell us who you are. We want this to be an unbiased judging though. So you're not going to put your name in here. You're going to double click in the top left corner and start typing to type in your title. And please give it a title. This is going to be the title that is read out loud. So you don't want to do something like Cupid Challenge unless that's your actual story name. So I might say, in the case of my brother's worst enemy, loving the lost. There we go. And then in the top of your file, the very first thing that you should have are those 1 or 2 sentences explaining your chosen trope and explaining what you have done to subvert them. So my chosen trope is my brother's best friend. I am subverting it by writing about my brother's worst enemy. That word count here, these 19 words, do not count toward your story total. You can have up to 2,500 words, not including what you have here. So I know that my word count right now is 19. So I have 19 words in the file. If I then go on to write the rest of my story or copy and paste it in, the grand total should be 2,500 519 words because I have 2,500 maximum allowed words, and I've already put in 19, so that would be 2,500 plus whatever your word count is at the top, 2,519. From here, before you actually write your story, if you haven't done it already or copy paste it in, make sure to go to your planning tab and click on the fiction story builder. This builder will be locked if you are not a pro member or a challenge participant. You have to be either a registered participant or a pro member to access this. Go to the fiction story builder and click new fiction story builder idea and click the green button that says beat sheet. You're going to then go to the drop down and choose romance. One of the requirements for this challenge is that you fill out a romance beat sheet in your AutoCrit file that you submit for the challenge. So even if you use a beat sheet elsewhere, or you are a pro member and you use the backwards blueprint in the fiction analyzer, in which case you can copy it over by clicking copy from backwards blueprint, which means you wrote your story first and the system did it for you. Whatever your approach is, you still have to come in here and you still have to write it out here. Please do not copy and paste your beat sheet into the file here. So no beats here. On the left-hand side, your beats need to be in this builder right here, under romance specifically. This is where you're going to find all those steps that we walked through last week on last week's YouTube. You can go view it. If you need some help walking through what these beats mean, you're going to make sure this is completely filled out. If for some reason you miss a key beat, which is a plot point of your story, then give us a good reason why you don't have this. I don't have the relationship crisis because I did XYZ instead. Every box under romance should have something in it, whether it's an explanation for why the beat wasn't used or what the beat was itself. We don't need you to actually copy and paste the story section from over here. A beat should be a 1 or 2 sentence summary, ideally just something short, something guiding, and sums up the story for the people doing the judging. All right, so once you have filled out, you've filled out all these boxes under the romance beat sheet, you've put your chosen trope at the top, how you're going to subvert it underneath that, and then you put your title up at the top of the page. You can actually put your story underneath. So you write your story here. For the sake of the challenge, we did unlock for you guys the tense checking tools in the system. So there's so many pro member exclusive tools and reports you can use in AutoCrit, but the tense consistency report is where you are going to come check and make sure. Now, I don't have enough to do that yet, but you will have at close to 2,500 words, you should have more than 200. You're going to go ahead and run this tense consistency report, and that's going to pull up any verbs that are not in past tense. Go through those and make sure that all of the ones that are picked out are in dialogue. If it's in dialogue and it's present tense, you're fine. If it's not in dialogue and it's in present tense, you need to fix it before you submit it. So we've unlocked that for challenge participants as well. You don't have to run that report, but we want it to be easy. So we have done that for you. You do have to do the Fiction Story Builder Romance Beat Sheet. So once you have your story written here, you're going to go up to the Save button on the top right-hand side, and you're going to click Save. And then you're going to scan your file one last time and make sure that nothing is in this box except for what your chosen trope is and how you subverted it. Make sure that your story is here, that your title is up in the top left corner, and that your fiction story builder has something in the romance section. Once you've done all of that, go back to that Save button and click on Submissions. You'll see Cupid Gone Rogue Challenge right here. You can check mark this box to submit your story to the challenge. However it looks on the page at the time you check this box is the version our team of judges is going to receive. You cannot edit your file once you have submitted it. You cannot send in another version of the file via email. You can't go in and fill out your builder after submitting the story. It all has to be done and ready before you click the check mark, or you're not going to have a complete submission. This submission will be open again until 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on the 25th. So if you check mark here, you should see this little box at the top that says your submission to Cupid Gone Rogue challenge has been received. If you have pop-up blockers turned on, then you may not see that confirmation button. So instead, you want to double check by going to the save box again, going to submissions, and you'll see that this is now checked and I can't click on it. That's because I have now already submitted the file. You will only be able to submit one story per user. So send us your best one if you have several that you have been looking through. As long as this box is checked, we have received your story. There is no need to chat in with us and ask if we received it. You will not receive an email confirming your submission. This is where you're going to come to see that confirmation. If you have trouble with any aspect of working in AutoCrit as far as finding your beat sheet, filling it out, what to put in your title or things like that, then here on the bottom right corner is this little help bubble. We are 100% human manned on our support team. So you can either search for an article or you can send us a message and one of our human support reps will reply back to you just to help you get up and running and get your book into the system or your story into the system for the challenge. All right, so let's go up here. I'm going to try to catch up with your questions while we have everything live. Because the analyzer is a pro member exclusive tool and it is not required for the challenge, you don't have to use the analyzer at all if you don't want to. Now, the reason some people are mentioning the analyzer in the comments is because the AutoCrit story analyzer has a built-in backwards blueprint that will go ahead and reverse outline for you so that you don't have to try to figure out what story beats you have. If you're a pantser like me or a plancer, or you're a planner and you're not sure if the version you ended up with is the version you initially intended to have in your story, then this could be something that's super helpful in figuring out what you actually wrote versus what you thought or meant to write to begin with. So if you want to give that a try, and if you'd like to keep access to the tense report and your story builder, which is going to close on the 25th with submissions, then you might want to go ahead and give AutoCrit Pro a try. We do have an entry special running right now for your first month of AutoCrit Pro. I'll pull that link up on the screen for you guys. But if you do have the analyzer and you don't agree with its analysis, you don't have to use it. It's just like how you might not always agree with a human beta reader, right? That sometimes you take the feedback you get from a human beta reader and you're like, oh yes, I really think that's going to fit my story. I should expand on this. I should cut this out. You remain in full creative control of your work, so you can decide what to apply, what to disregard. Hey, we got Tony, Axel, Victoria on. The beat sheet looks different from the one you started, but a few weeks back you pulled up the romance beat sheet. Yeah. So we want to make sure again that you're carrying over into that AutoCrit beat sheet specifically. You can use whichever one you liked for your challenge, but try to find the closest beats to carry over into the AutoCrit beat sheet. Can you use bullet points in the beat sheet? Absolutely. Are we still allowed to panic after submitting? I think panic is normal, right? I feel panic leading up to submission because I'm one of those people that tells myself don't wait till the last minute and then I push it way too close for my own comfort. There's a level of panic before and then a level of panic of did I do it right? So I'm one of those people that goes back and submits and then scrolls through everything. Did I get everything? Is it all okay? Is it good? No, please don't email me. Please do not email Becca with your submission or it will not be entered for the judging. We want this to be anonymous again, and all of the things that we require, like needing that beat sheet, we obviously can't get if you email us a PDF or a docx of your file. So if you want to be considered for the prize, you do have to submit through the portal itself. And if you have carried over your backwards blueprint from the romance backwards blueprint into the romance beat sheet on the story builder, you can edit anything you would like in that section for sure. Yeah. If you miss a core romance beat, the excuse should be really, really, really good. Ideally, not I didn't have enough space for this. There should be a good excuse. If I don't have a meet cute in my story, then that should be there was no meet cute. They grew up together. There was never a moment where they really realized that they were supposed to be together. They just somehow ended up together, and it was all super confusing. And they'd been together their whole lives, right? Something like that. Yes, if you have the option to submit as a free member, you are definitely registered for the challenge. If you are a pro member and you're not sure whether you registered, then go ahead and submit and hit the help bubble in the bottom right corner to ask us whether you are already registered for the challenge. And I think, let me go ahead and put this up here for all of our latecomers who would like to go ahead and register so that you have access to the tools for the weekend and can submit alongside us. Here we go. This is the free Cupid's Gone Rogue challenge link. Let's see here. What are the prizes other than the envy of others? Mark, I love it. Well, there's a lot going on in the romance world. Our last challenge, we gave away some memberships. We gave away some workshops, some courses, some story doctor things. So you'll have to stay tuned. I know Becca has been working on all kinds of amazing swag things. Not that there will be swag for this challenge specifically, but stay tuned. We gave out a bunch during Novel 90, right? Does meet cute have to be cute, or can the couple just meet at a party or work? So a meet cute is a beat where the couple meets for the first time and has, typically the first time, and or has this moment where something strikes them as odd or different. This is the moment that impacts them and starts drawing them closer together. So in a friends to lovers, a meet cute can be the moment where she realizes that she cares a little too much that he's talking about inviting another person out to prom. It could be the moment where she flows her hair in the wind and he never realized how beautiful her eyes were. It does not have to be cutesy. It doesn't have to be cliched. It's just a term for that moment of change, of attraction toward each other and getting to see each other. And often in first time meetings, this is where they cross paths for the first time. He's the customer that orders the coffee that morning, and just something about it lingers in her mind all day long. All right. If we use the backwards blueprint, can we use it as is written? It gives far more detail than what I think you're asking for. We'll leave that up to you, Jaylee. What our judges are looking for is the simple way of how that beat is met. As long as that's there, then you should be fine. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for your kind shout out, Victoria, on the Human Support Network. Let's see, you have a question. If you use the backwards map on your story, is it acceptable for beat or beat sheet, or should you rewrite it? So let me go ahead and pull up what the backwards blueprint looks like very briefly here. See if I can find something short to run through. The dark epic fantasy writer who writes 257,000 words. Here we go. Okay, we'll do this one. So if you go into the backwards blueprint, you are going to need at least one chapter to run, and you will have to be a pro member. Again, this part is not required for the challenge. It is a pro member exclusive perk. It's just going to make things faster for you. You don't have to do it. So it is not free with your challenge membership. So first, you're going to identify your chapter. You can do that by clicking Auto Find Chapters. I'm just adding a temporary chapter 1 here. I'm going to take it out before I submit it. Don't forget that if you do this. Then I'm going to go to the Analysis tab, go to the Fiction Analyzer, and run. Now, lucky for us, I have already run the fiction analyzer on this story. This typically runs in minutes when you have pieces this small. Then you'll go to the backwards blueprint and go down to the beat sheet. Make sure you change it to romance first or it won't fill out the correct beat sheet. You can then tell it to go down these beats and click auto generate based on your text, which will read the story and pull out what it thinks the beats could be. Now, if there isn't a beat, this is not a romance story. A lot of mine are blank because I don't have these things in here. If there's some that are out of place, it might tell you that you need to move your chapters around or whatever's going on with it in a longer book. It might give you some feedback on things you could implement to make those beats stronger. But whatever it is, when you're finished running your backwards blueprint there, you would go back to the fiction story builder that everybody does have access to and click copy from backwards blueprint. This is going to then take you down to where you click on the romance, and it will have automatically filled out everything here. Now, the backwards blueprint section on the analyzer isn't typable. You can't change that. It's just telling you what you have. But you could change anything here. So character introduced. Here's all the different characters that I introduce in the beginning. And I might want to trim this up, like you guys said. Maybe I only want to keep this person. So I'm going to keep Elliot the cat. And then I'm going to delete everything else for the sake of what I'm submitting. From here, use your creative judgment for what you would like the judges to actually see. But that is how you can use the backwards blueprint to fill everything out for you, as you just saw in a couple minutes, instead of reading through your story and going, what could fit there, and type it in. So it might save you some time. Now, as a pantser, I use this on full-length novels to help me reverse outline so that I can do a good developmental edit for plot and characters and world building and things like that. It just saves me hours and hours and hours of time. Let's see. Any other questions, everybody? Still need to edit yours, hoping to get it in. Problem is you don't know what to cut. That's a great point as well. So where to cut. If you are over your 2,500 words and you need to cut things out, we suggest going core and building on that. So what you absolutely have to have are your core romance beats. This is a beat focused challenge. Our tropes and our themes and the story plot is all what we are focusing on the most. Then your characters, because romance is character driven, how that character grows. How are they different at the end than who they are when we first see them in the first paragraph of the first chapter, right? It does not have to be a dual POV story. You're then giving yourself essentially 1,250 words per character to give them each a solid, clear, standalone arc with a clear beginning, middle, and end and growth for two people. So it might be easier to try a single POV for a piece this size, but that's up for you to decide. But we do expect full arcs for your POV main character. So ask yourself, what plot has to happen? How many words does it take for that to be fleshed out? Then my character growth has to happen, and this relationship has to come together. How many words does that take? That then leaves you with dialogue and world building in order to trim things up. So focus on rewording longer, wordier sentences into shorter, more powerful sentences with powerful word choices. There might be some scenes that you could have drawn on a little longer to make it more immersive that you might want to rein in and summarize just a tiny bit, not too much. We don't want to get into telling instead of showing, but rein in just a little bit. So instead of a 4-sentence paragraph talking about how angry someone was, maybe you give us one sentence with some powerful shown indicators of how they're angry and then summarize it with the reaction. And now you've cut that paragraph in half. So those unspoken sides are important, but they are not as essential to the judging as your plot and your characters. So ideally, 2,500 words should be enough for you to come up with this simple short story concept. If you find yourself struggling, you might want to try pulling up the short story beat sheet and plugging things into the short story beats, and make sure that you have your core story beats there, and then the romance elements can be tied in after the fact. how to add in romance. So remember that what makes something romance versus any other genre is how much time you give on the page toward the relationship. We are primarily signing up to see you guys introduce us to a couple or a trio or reverse harem or whatever you want it to be, a group of people who are in love, and see how that ends up playing out for them. That is what we're here for. So anything else is just your B story. It's just the side. Let it fall as small as it needs to fall. Let's see. You need to close your B story. Yes. Don't give the B story too much page time, though. Remember, it's solely there to promote the growth of the main characters. So if we see that the main character wants to start a coffee shop, and then there's this greedy landowner who's coming through buying up places and bulldozing them for a big development, and that's the person she ends up falling in love with, we probably don't want to spend 1,000 of our 2,500 words on the story about her fighting against him to keep her shop. We probably want to spend 250 to 500 words, which is a page to 2 pages max, focused on her keeping her shop, and the rest be about how they got together despite that, how they grew to the point of actually loving each other, and what that ended up making happen in the end. Let's see. Excellent question. What did I miss, Tony? Need our dinosaur music. Okay, here we go. You can't get the analyzer to say your story is romance. Instead, it says fantasy with the first trope as romance. It says 50-50. 50-50 is enough. You need at least 50 for it to be a genre bender. But maybe focus on where the characters, what is the focal point of the story? What are you setting us up, believing we're going to be reading about in that first page? And then how much time do you give that B story again, right? I know some of us like writing about dragons, and dragons are great, and the dragon politics and all of that is fantastic as well. But ultimately, this specific story is focused on the couple and how they spend time together and how they end up together, or why they're not, right? If we're going to really buck the trend here. Highlighting dialogue is a life-saving tool. Yes. So if you have this open and you are going to run the tense report, there is a highlight dialogue tool. Mine is already on. That's what these gray points are. And you can go to your tense consistency report. And the only thing I want in present tense is dialogue. So is it in gray, or is it being used as part of passive phrasing, which is what that one is? Have you tried? That's gray. That means it's in dialogue. I can skip it. I'm telling you, dialogue, dialogue. Okay, so all of my present tense is in dialogue except for one version that was a passive voice. So I did it! Hooray! 81% of my verbs here in this story are past tense, and I don't have to worry about any of those. And that is the report that we have unlocked for you guys. All right. Great job, everybody. So I'm excited to see where your stories go. Becca is excited as well. We are super, super pumped to go through all of the stories and just read how you have subverted your tropes and see which tropes you have chosen. Now, if you are coming in on the tail end of this and you wish that you had been able to catch up with this challenge in time to write more and give yourself more time to breathe, we do have a brand new challenge coming up, and here is the link to it. You can see it is already up on YouTube. This is the Destination Unknown writing challenge. We have done this one for several years now, so here's the link to actually sign up for the free and not just tune in to the live. This is another free writing challenge. Now, I can neither confirm or deny, but I will hint that a certain horror expert who has had a heavy hand in Destination Unknown in the past might be giving some help with this challenge. So take that for what you think and come back on March 4th and find out for yourself. But if you've never done Destination Unknown, the point of it is really to test our flexibility as writers. So unlike Cupid's Gone Rogue, where we gave you all the twists up front so you could have a month to write, Destination Unknown gives you an initial sentence. Every single story in the challenge has to use that same first sentence. No iterations. It has to be word for word the same. And then there is a twist in week 2. And then there is a twist in week 3. And then there is a final thing that wraps everything up. And so a lot of times it just pushes us outside of our comfort zones. They started doing Destination Unknown here at AutoCrit back when I was just a lifetime member and not part of the team. And the stories were so great. It was just so great to see what people come up with. And I know some people have gone on to actually publish their stories from this challenge. We've heard successes about them being accepted in the magazines and stuff. So yeah, we're eager to see what you guys come up with. Again, that's free. That will be running through March. So come join us. All right, everybody. I'm going to hop off here, let you go to your story, hop on to your submissions. If you have questions, as we said before, hit the little help bubble in the bottom right-hand corner of the AutoCrit site. Good luck. Bye, everybody.